What's up, guys? Captain Rob back with another video. Sorry it's been so long since I've been putting out a video. Almost 2 weeks. Work, school, kids, sickness, you name it, it's happened. But we're back here at Sinclair Community College finishing up the videos over the PACT program and the GM ASEP program, also covering the Honda program as well. So stay tuned. We're going to talk to the coordinators for that, let you know what those programs offer, and see what's coming up in the future for us. So stay tuned. Alright guys, you guys remember Justin Morgan from my Mopar CAP program video. He's the CAP coordinator for that, but he's also the coordinator for the Honda PACT program. So he's going to give you guys some information about the Honda program, what they have, what they need to go through to get their certifications, and any other information he might have. So Justin, thanks again for taking a few minutes with me.
Yeah, awesome.
Explain to people that don't know what the Honda program is all about.
So the Honda PACT program is similar to what you'd consider the Mopar CAP program. So it's really for Honda and Acura enthusiasts that are interested in working at Honda and Acura dealerships. It's an internship-based program, so it's a paid internship. It rotates back and forth, so it's 8 weeks starting from August to October here at Sinclair Community College in the Honda classes, and then you go to 8 weeks at a local dealership training. So we are the regional school, so we cover basically the Dayton region, Columbus, Cincinnati, Indy market, Northern Ohio market, and we work with local dealerships from all over those areas for students to come in and get their Honda and Acura certifications. So and what that means is that they're going to get 100% completion of their self-studies, and so that's a really big carrot in their hat, because they get an ID through American Honda to do their training, get access to the service information, and then in addition, upon completion of the 2-year associate degree here at Sinclair, they're also going to get the certifications behind me, the 10 certifications through American Honda. And the biggest thing for a dealership, why this is important, is because, like the Mopar CAP program, is it saves them a ton of money, basically. It saves the dealership. So the loss of production for a technician to be gone for 1 or 2 days out of the shop, not working on customer cars, they save on that expense, and then, of course, the travel and the per diem. And so, you know, the Honda and Acura program is a similar program to any of our manufacturer programs here at Sinclair Community College. It just kind of depends what your flavor. You know, you're of course a Mopar person,
right?
And we have students that have different interests for the Honda and Acura vehicles, and so we have a program that fits them as well.
Okay. So in all, basically the program is kind of geared just like the Mopar CAP program.
Correct.
Where you're in an internship on 8 weeks, just like he said, and then you're back in school for 8 weeks, and you flip back and forth so you can get that hands-on training for what you guys learn. Besides being a different manufacturer, are there any other bigger differences between the Mopar CAP program and, say, the Honda program?
No, I mean, not a lot, but what you're going to experience is when you're working in the engines class, kind of like the Mopar program, instead of working on Mopar engines, it's going to be Honda and Acura engines that you're going to have in our lineup. So Honda and Acura have been very good to make sure that we have any of the equipment in their lineup and their components and their engines is going to be here in our program. Same thing goes with vehicles. We have about 25 to 30 different vehicles that we use for training. And so when you're going through and doing brake systems or steering suspension alignment, you're working on Honda and Acura vehicles. And then also we have all the special tools. So when it comes to that, and the scan tools as well. So we have about 7 to 8 different scan tools. We have all this factory special tools that you would experience. And then it's just kind of the culture of the Honda and Acura vehicles. Honda and Acura spends a lot of time with what they call their express service lane. That's a lot of their preventive maintenance, and they're very strong in that. So a lot of times the first couple of semesters of our internship program, the students are going to be express service techs, which you can make pretty good money doing the inspections. And then the goal is at some point they transition to the back of the shop and work alongside a mentor, which you've done in the past, in order to get them more experience and get a guided pathway to diagnosing and troubleshooting vehicles in the shop. So very similar to a Mopar program, just a little bit different twist on how they kind of do things. And in our program, it's 40 weeks basically here at Sinclair out of the 2 years, and it's 40 plus weeks back at the dealership. So when you call it a 2-year program, I want students to understand, just like the Mopar CAP program, it's only 40 weeks of actual classroom instruction.
Right.
All the other stuff has taken place at the job site, which is important. I mean, as students always come back to me and say, I learned so much more on the job, and that's great. That's why it's an internship-based program. You get great fundamentals here, and you go out to work, and you can apply basic principles and learn that much more on the job. and get paid for it. So,
Gotcha.
it's a win-win. And just like the Mopar program, we have a nice graduation banquet at the end to honor the achievement of the students. After
3 weeks, guys. 3 weeks.
and nobody's counting down the days.
No,
right?
no.
And so, that's a really nice time for us to honor the achievements of guys like yourself and the graduates that go through our program. And then the goal is, as you know, is to get hired full-time by that dealership. So they've invested 2 years, you invested 2 years with them, or however you want to look at that. And then the idea is to transition to a full-time service technician within that organization. And for our Honda students, they're about 60% complete with all of their skill module training. So they'll have about 30 to 40% approximately to go back to the Honda Training Center. And then they're 100% done with all their online stuff.
Okay.
And that's really important because if you're just going to a Honda and Acura dealership, they're going to wait some time before you can actually even go to skills training at the training center. So there's a period of wait time. So if you're a high school student, you say, well, I want to go into a Honda dealership. Do you want to go into a PACT program or here? If you're really wanting to get some manufacturer training, you're a fast track to go through the Honda PACT program, similar to the Mopar CAP program.
Right.
So, I really encourage people to kind of go down that pathway. And then also, usually your pay in those 2 years, you get further skills. Your pay kind of increments up then rather than just going directly on the job and waiting for those raises throughout those 2 years.
Gotcha. Now, just like any other program as well, you're going to start off with the basics. You're going to go through the classes just like you would with any other program, taking your brakes class, your intro to auto, all that stuff. Now, how are there any different amount of classes going through the PACT program as per se, close to what the the CAP programs? So I know that CAP programs got so many classes that are kind of detailed oriented to the CAP program. Are there anything that is specialized for the PACT program?
Probably the biggest difference in those programs, in my opinion, would be all the fundamental classes. When you talk about brakes, it's going to be pretty much the same thing, just the twist of Honda, how Honda does it compared to Mopar. But when you see differences, is Honda, of course, has a pretty big hybrid lineup, whereas Mopar does not or has not historically. Mopar has a very strong diesel background here in the United States, and so our elective class for our Mopar students is usually diesel or maybe another internship. For the Honda students, we usually like them to go through the hybrid class, see how the Civic, Insight, and Accord vehicles operate, because they're likely to diagnose and service those in their dealerships, whereas for you to see a hybrid vehicle is going to be a little bit more limited, but to see a diesel is going to be a lot more common. Of course, 2500, 3500, 1500 series trucks and the Grand Cherokees, I guess. So.
Right. Yeah, and I know that with my school courses I have this year, I'm currently in a hybrid class along with some of the Honda guys. We're working a lot on the stuff that you guys have here, pretty much Toyota Priuses, and I think is there one Honda down there?
So we got a Ford Fusion, a Ford Escape, maybe a Volt and stuff, but the Prius is kind of like the flagship, and that's it's deviations of that. And actually, I'll be in your class here in a couple weeks to do the Honda presentation on how the IMA, Integrated Motor System, works. So the students will be exposed to that. So those are probably the biggest difference. It's just kind of the cultural difference, I guess, within the dealerships and the manufacturer of how Honda does their things versus how Mopar. And so we try to do a good job here at Sinclair's. In that class you're integrated together, but when you go through your Mopar classes, you're working on Mopar vehicles, your instructor certified through Mopar, your Honda instructor here in the program would be the same kind of certification. So we talked about Mr. Freels being level 3 certified. Our Honda instructors are 100% complete with their self-studies and nearly 100% complete with all their skill modules. And so they have to go to update training throughout the year, and that's really important to make sure we have somebody certified. Currently, one of our past Honda PACT graduates is a Honda PACT instructor. So they've gone through and worked in a dealership, they've gone through this program, they know how things operate, and they know what it takes to be prepared in the industry, which I think is another feather in our cap to make sure, because they've been in that person's shoes that they're teaching, and they should have a pretty good handle on how that works. Right.
Now, as for the Honda classes, how many professors do you guys have working that work with the Honda people directly?
Roughly about 4 to 5. So we have Mr. Miller, Mr. McGuigan, Mr. Truxell. Let's see here. Those are the primarily Honda PACT instructors that we focus. And then, of course, you have some other instructors that might fill in. But those are the ones that have pretty much been designated as our Honda PACT instructors. And myself, I do a lot of the recruitment. I don't teach as many of the Honda PACT classes as I used to. Before I was chair, I taught like Introduction to Electrical and some of those classes. Right. But now I do a lot of the recruitment pieces and go out and try to work with local dealers and to find potential candidates in the career centers.
Not to deviate too much from the Honda program, but I know that Mopar and Dodge and them are working to get more electric vehicles in. What do you think in the future, will that split to where you have a Honda and you have a Mopar hybrid class, or is that going to be still a class that you're probably going to keep together?
I don't know, because we've been working with, you look at electric drive systems is going to be a big thing, and so that might be something we have to split off, or maybe we have a third electrical class, and instead of it being just hybrid or electric powertrains, maybe it's electric vehicles in general. So we always try to reevaluate our curriculum. Currently we're doing a lot of the automated and connected vehicle stuff with advanced driver assist systems on cars, ADAS systems, and that's becoming more and more important. Unfortunately for you, you're probably not going to get to touch on it in our program because you're close to graduating. You're going to see that at the at the training center. But we're trying to integrate more and more of that into our program, because in 5 years from now, those are going to be vehicles that are going to be failing, and that's going to be stuff that you guys are going to be servicing. So we expose students to stuff that they might really not have a grasp on right now, but 3 years from now, when they're a graduate, those cars are going to be failing with 50s to 100,000 miles. They need to know how to service those at the dealership.
Yeah.
So.
Not to mention, there's always going to be new technologies coming out with any system like that.
Sure.
Any vehicle is going to have new technologies to it, but the hybrid and even getting into the autonomous stuff, I don't know how much Honda has autonomous wise, but there's always going to be that new technology coming out, so you got to get the technicians prepared for that.
Yep, that's fair. One thing I thought that we're trying to do too in the Honda and Acura program is to try to have, me and you talked about this before the video started, is a guided path. You talked about your dealership and kind of how you had training level requirements and compensation kind of went along with that. We're trying to do similar things in our Honda and Acura program, the PACT program, of trying to lay out basically what I call a career plan of you start in the program year 1, and you go through year 2 and then year 3, and this is kind of how your training works, how you become productive and efficient as a flat rate service technician or as express service tech, and then a year out where you're at. That way a student kind of can see on paper where they should be in the future, and that's really our focus kind of moving forward. Students, when they come to this program, they're at the bottom of the totem pole, and so they need to understand that they're going to be doing a lot of oil changes and basic inspections, and it's important for service managers to see the value of that person as a good worker before they release them on a $40,000 vehicle.
Absolutely.
Doing a huge job like doing pistons and rings basically on some of these later model vehicles, and so that's really what we're trying to do, is similar to what you had been exposed to, which is a great thing that your dealership and you guys got to do.
So yeah, other than that, do you have any other words about the Honda program that you'd like to throw out? Or?
Not specifically. I just it really depends on your passion. A lot of parents will ask me, what's the best program? We have 3 manufacturer programs. We have the Mopar CAP program, we have the Honda PACT program, and we have GM ASEP, and we have a general selective emissions program that fits all the other repair shops. It just really depends on what you're passionate about, what's close to home, and that's really depends. So, one manufacturer, in my personal opinion, is not necessarily going to be better than others.
It's more like what's in your wheelhouse.
That's exactly right. I always
what your passion is.
Yeah, I always used to compare it to Baskin Robbins ice cream. You got 31 flavors. You pick out which one you want, and we can show you how to get to your end goal. And that's really that's kind of what's important. So even if you want to go into something else, we have an option for you.
Well, to deviate just a little bit off the Honda program, I'm going to kind of spring this on you. I know that I've seen you down in the labs working with the other groups doing. I'm assuming it's the comprehensive students.
It is. Yep.
Can you give me a little bit of information about the comprehensive program?
Yep. So in our comprehensive program, we have 2 different tracks. We started a program a few years ago called CAST, and so the CAST program, basically the students go. First year they have all morning classes Monday through Friday, and in the afternoons they go to work, and that flips in year 2. They go to work in the morning, and then they go to school in the afternoon. It's a 2-year internship-based program. So it could be anything from a Ford dealership to a family-owned business in the Dayton region, and that's been very successful. And then we have a general program for anybody that wants to take automotive classes that I think you're referring to. And the lab class I'm teaching right now is our capstone class. So you've had the fortunate pleasure of basically being able to intern at a local dealership. Right. And that that experience you can't duplicate. But what we try to do is for students that haven't had the internship, that want the associate degree, we still require a live experience, a live work experience. So what we do is 3 days of the week, students before they graduate go through and work through our capstone class where they service faculty and staff vehicles. So not sure what computer system you guys use here at the dealership. We use ERA, Reynolds & Reynolds, which is here in the Dayton region, has been widely known as the dealership software for many years. They have to use that system. They produce invoices. We take payment. And it's a really great program. So, the nice thing about that is for a student that might have only changed oil for a year and a half of the program, they get the opportunity to do stuff. We've done anything from intake gasket jobs to wheel bearings to, of course, alignments, And so they do a lot of different things that if a student just came in as a lube tech and they might just experience a lot of oil changes and basic maintenance. So it's very important for me or our program that I believe in for my own beliefs is that you get, practical experience working on servicing cars. And that's really what we try to do is to make sure that they feel comfortable when they go out and a car comes in doing those jobs. And, so hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, no, I mean, and from what I've seen downstairs, I mean, I talked to one of the guys that are in that class. He was a student that was in one of my other classes. So I've had a class with him and got to know him. So I see him, passing in the halls, or I see him out in the lab. And one day he was working on a vehicle, and then the next week I came in and he was dressed, in khakis and a white shirt and looking all sharp. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, well, we have to rotate through. One day I got to be, one week I got to be a service manager. One week I got to be a parts manager. One week I get to work on this. One week I get to work on this. And so it is just like being in a shop. However, you get all the aspects of being in a shop as opposed to just being there, just working on a vehicle and finding out exactly what you got to do with that.
The nice thing about that too is students appreciate, and not that you don't, but students appreciate what a service manager goes through. The amount when a customer has a complaint about a vehicle and balancing, making sure invoices are correct and warranty stuff's correct, and then we have them go through parts running and ordering parts and stuff. So they, like you said, they get to see. It's a small snippet. It's not exactly like a dealership or a family business, but they get to see all the different sides of it. And what you'll find is some people never want to be a service advisor, service writer, service manager. They're great technicians.
Right.
And then I have other students that really flourish because they have great communication skills. They're very organized. They have the people skills.
Yep.
And so they will be very successful service writers or service advisors, which is not necessarily the intent of our program, but maybe that's where they're going to shine and be able to make the most money and provide for their family.
Right.
So the industry, with the parts department, service writing, service managing, service technicians, there's a lot of different job opportunities within the automotive industry.
And with being in that comprehensive program, I mean, they're not really keyed into a specific program like the PACT program or the Mopar program.
Sure.
So having that flexibility in that course to be able to have those different roles and seeing if they flourish in another role, they might go into the program thinking, oh, I want to go work on cars, and then they find out, hey, I really like this position as a service writer.
Yep.
So that might steer them into a whole different direction and just basically set them up for success.
Sure. I mean, and that happens quite a bit. I have a lot of students that after this, they become service writers and stuff like that. Some of them have even become shop owners. Their goal was to basically go through our program, work a few years, get experience, and then open up their shop. And that's another pathway to go if you don't want to work for another person or a dealership, is to open up your own business.
Awesome.
Yep.
So what we're going to do is I'm going to put links in the description below. One for Sinclair Community College. And also, if it's okay with you,
sure,
I'll put in a contact email for Justin Morgan. That way, if you guys have any direct questions that weren't asked in this video, you guys can shoot him an email, and he'll be happy to give you guys the information that you guys want to know. So next up, what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can't go talk to one of the coordinators for the GM program, get some information about that, and then we'll go from there. All right, guys, with me is Chuck Taylor. He is the coordinator for the GM ASEP program. He's going to give you guys a little bit of information about what the GM ASEP program is all about, what their end goal is, and just some general information for those of you who might be interested in going into the GM program. So thank you for taking a few minutes with me. Tell everybody about what the GM program basically encompasses.
Okay. The GM ASEP program is a cohort program where we spend 8 weeks at the school and 8 weeks back at a dealer to do training. So the 8 weeks at school, you'll get some introductory objects, things to learn, and then back at the dealership, you hopefully work on those things and get them a little more concrete. So maybe you'll take an engines class. So we'll take an engine, disassemble it, measure everything else. But then when you get the chance to go back to the dealer, you get more in depth with that thing, and be able to really dive into it, and that really It's like a second level of learning.
Okay. So in general, it's not too much dissimilar from the Mopar CAP program where we're 8 weeks on, 8 weeks off as well.
Very, very similar. Again, same model that we kind of like modeled after. We've been doing this since '84 here at Sinclair. The ASEP program was the first one, and then we added some other programs after the fact, and basically followed the same model as the GM ASEP program.
Okay. As for qualifications and stuff going through the actual GM course, what can somebody look forward to basically having as an end goal?
Okay, so GM has their own curriculum and kind of own guidelines as far as where they go to. The end goal would be to get what they call world class. So world class would be after you go through each subject area and then take a hands-on assessment at the end.
Okay.
The ASEP program won't get you all the way there, but will get you probably about 75 to 80% there. And then there's going to be some follow-up training. Now, granted, when you start the program, we set the goals as far as what classes we're going to teach and where we'll be at the end. Technology continues to advance, and GM continues to come out with new curriculum. So the student would be responsible for picking up all those new courses, and there'll be some hands-on courses that they'll have to go to a GM training center, like what we're saying in here today.
Right.
And then after they get all the hands-on courses, and then get the final assessment, whether that be a hands-on course that they go to a training center to do. I would say after a student graduates, if they were aggressively going after it, and the dealership worked well with them as far as being able to send them to classes, do those kind of things, it's probably about a 3-year process after it's all said and done.
Okay. Now, I know with the Mopar CAP program, they work with getting students into dealerships to work there. I'm assuming the GM program does the exact same thing?
Yeah, the exact same thing. We really work hard with students to try and find them a dealer, hopefully local to where they live, where they intend to live, because it's not a short-term program. The goal is long-term. So to go to school and then work at a dealer and then stay at that dealer long-term. And that's what dealers are looking for as well. So trying to find a dealer that fits close to the location wherever the student is, that's kind of a goal. And with the need of technicians, it's usually not too hard of a task to go.
Right. Now, with the need of technicians that you guys have, how many people do you see coming into the GM program in comparison to, say, like the Honda or the Mopar CAP program?
Our program in the past several years, so the past 4 or 5 years, we've started in high 20s, almost into 30s. Last year I started 32 students. The year before that was 29. Prior to that, it was a little bit lower 20s, so I think like 26 students who started there. And then continue on. So we always have 2 ASEP classes. So it'll be max. We really like to get to like 15 range. 20's kind of pushing it as far as max in the class. And then with that 15 or that 30 number, put 15 students in each class will work out really well.
Okay. And does GM have a pretty good success rate on graduation as well?
Fair. It's a long process to go through. It does take quite a bit of effort on kind of the student's part to maintain and continue going. So our success rate probably that end up graduating, it's kind of hard to say, but we're probably 50% or so to actually make it through.
Well, I mean, and to be all honest, I mean, Mopar is kind of the same way. I mean, we start with big classes whenever we start the program, and I mean, in our class, my graduating class, we have 5 out of 20. So, I mean, the drop-off is pretty significant, but, as long as you have the drive and as long as you have the passion and wanting to complete the course, you're not going to have any problems with it.
Yeah, that's very, very true. I think all the programs kind of almost mimic each other. This current year, I'm graduating 11 students.
Nice.
Last year, I actually had 29 that started, and down to 11 as far as doing that. So it's definitely a little bit of a drop-off rate. And I guess I'm more interested. I'd like to give everyone a try. So there's maybe some students that haven't really been placed with a deal yet, or kind of struggling, may not have a really, really good technical background. And I'll give them a shot and try, and there's some supporting dealers that will kind of give them a chance to try. But it's a fast-paced program, and a lot of times our comprehensive program is a better fit for them, so they'll drop the comprehensive program, still be a successful student, still be a successful technician in the end. It just takes them a little bit longer to kind of get there. Comprehensive program kind of slows down a little bit, lets them consume the information a little bit slower as well.
Gotcha. Now, as for, with Mopar, we've got all of our testing that we have to do, and I'm assuming GM's got their own line of testing that they have to do to become, either level 1, level 2, whatever GM calls it.
Yeah, correct. GM has different levels. So there's silver, bronze, and I think it's gold is their last level.
Okay.
So you can work up through those levels. So the same things. It's a mixture of hands-on courses and web-based courses. So typically all the hands-on courses are at a training center. We teach those courses in the program, so when the student graduates, they'll get credit for those hands-on courses at completion and graduation.
Okay. So again, like a lot like Mopar's program, it's an accelerated program to get them to what would be level 2 for us, but I'm assuming what would be like silver for you guys.
Correct. Yeah, exact same thing. The last level courses are going to be those hands-on courses that they're going to have to go to a training center to complete.
Okay. Any words of advice or any words of, I guess, wisdom for potential GM technicians that are out there?
I'd say there's a huge need. It's definitely something that there's opportunities all over the place to go and be successful. I've had students here recently. I had a student who was actually in this training center probably a couple weeks ago, and he was telling me, hey, he's doing really well. He's actually gotten put on a team, so he's over. He has 2 hourly employees underneath him.
Nice.
So he's able to diagnose the car, have the hourly people put the parts on, stuff like that, then he'll kind of check the diagnosis when we're all said and done, and he gets their hours. So his hours that he's turning is very well. So he's in the nature between 70 to 90 hours a week is what he's turning. And I just out of curiosity was like, well, what do you make? And what's your hourly? What's your flag rate? And he's 32. So he's at $32 an hour, turning 70 90 hours a week. So you do the math on that, and this student is 4 years out of the program, doesn't have his world class yet. He's about 3 short of having his world class to do.
That's kind of impressive.
That is.
That is super impressive.
Did the math, and I'm like, what am I? God, maybe I need to go back to work. This is not really where I was.
It's like, I need people to work for me and make me money. That's what I need.
So the opportunities, lots of opportunities.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you taking a few minutes with me to tell everybody about the GM program. Guys, if you guys have any questions that we didn't cover here, I'm going to get his email address. I'll put it in the description below. If you guys have any questions, feel free to email him. He'll be more than happy to give you guys any answers. Just like we did with Justin, his email address will be down there below, as well as Sinclair's website, so you guys can check that out. Well, guys, that's about all we got for today. I want to say a big thank you to Justin Morgan, Ralph Miller, Tom Freels, and everybody at Sinclair Community College that let me take the time to do recordings, do videos, and talk to them about the different programs that we have available at Sinclair Community College. Once again, check the description down below. I'm going to put the website along with email addresses for some of the coordinators. That way, if you guys want to get in contact with them, ask them any questions whatsoever, they'll be happy to get a hold of you, talk to you, and give you any information that you guys might want. So next week, we're going to do a wrap-up video. I'm going to do a video with the guys that I'm actually graduating with, just to get their take on what school was like for them, what it meant to them, and what their future plans might be. So look for that next week. We'll get that one put up. But in the meantime, make sure you guys hit subscribe, hit that like button, hit that bell notification. That way you guys know when I put out new videos. And until then, this is Captain Ron signing off, and we'll see you next time.